Thank you for listening to Scandinavian Crimes Podcast. Be sure to check out the episode links and be part of our other social media platforms where you can leave a topic suggestion or even share some of your insights regarding the subject matter of the episode. We'll always do our best to provide a well-researched episode, but sometimes due to limited access, translation issues, and inconsistent evidence between multiple sources, there can be information that's lost. It is therefore good to do your own research and get a deeper understanding of a case of your own interest. So with that all said, let's start today's episode.
Welcome to Scandinavian Crimes. My name is Devante, and say hello to my lovely co-host, Delila.
Hi.
And on this podcast, we talk about famous Scandinavian criminals who made their mark throughout Scandinavian history. Welcome to another episode. We have a very interesting triple kind of murder situation we got going on here. So this story is about Sanna Sillanpää, born April 15th, 1968. This person was a Finnish IT designer who in February 1999 murdered 3 men and permanently injured another by shooting them at a shooting range in Helsinki. This case, forgive me if I butcher this, but this case is known as the Ahl-behr-tin-kah-too triple murder or the shooting range murders. So it's not going to be a super long story today, but nonetheless, it's still going to be something you're going to want to listen to. So if you're new to the podcast, hopefully you stick around and enjoy and give us a nice little review on whatever platform you're listening to. Now, if you're already someone who's been listening for a while, you already know what I'm about to say. Grab your tea, grab your snacks. If you're on your way to work, tuck yourself into that nice little corner on the train or the bus. Put your headphones in real tight and snug, because this is the story of the shooting range murders. Sanna Sillanpää was a 30-year-old woman with an academic background in computer science. She held a master's degree with her primary field of study being information technology. Professionally, she had worked as an IT specialist, a role that required analytical thinking and problem-solving skills. By all accounts, she was an intelligent and capable professional with no prior history of criminal activity or violent behavior. She had previously been described as an outgoing and sociable young woman. However, with time, she began to withdraw from social interactions. Friends and family noticed a shift in her demeanor as she became increasingly isolated and detached from those around her. Sanna's close ones noticed this change in her behavior around 1996. According to Sanna's sister, she confided in her about a deeply traumatic event, claiming she had been raped. It remains unclear whether she ever reported it or if an investigation was even conducted. Still, this event appeared to trigger a decline in her mental health. Worried for Sanna's well-being, her parents sought professional psychiatric help. However, despite their efforts, she did not receive the treatment she needed. It was unclear whether this was due to limited mental health services, Sanna's reluctance to seek help, or other factors. In the years that followed, her condition seemed to have worsened, ultimately leading to February 21st, 1999. Sanna walked into the Helsinki shooting club on Albertinkatu, carrying with her a rented Beretta semi-automatic pistol. The shooting range, usually a place of leisure for hobbyists, would become the scene of an unimaginable horror that day. As she stepped up to the firing line, she calmly took aim and began shooting. 3 men, caught off guard and unprepared for the shots, fell victim to her gunfire. The first was a 23-year-old shooting range supervisor, the second a 25-year-old automation mechanic, and the third was a 37-year-old driver. A 4th man was present at the range, but by some stroke of luck, he managed to escape unharmed, his life spared amid the chaos. After the shootings, Sanna didn't appear to be affected by the violence she had just unleashed. In fact, she remained eerily calm. There was no panic in her movements, no indication that she felt the gravity of what she had just done. She walked away from the scene, her expression unreadable, as though she had simply completed a task. Before leaving, she casually said, quote, "This is how they taught us at the FBI Academy," end quote. Without any rush, Sanna made her way to the nearby bus stop, the gun and remaining ammunition still in her bag. She boarded a regular public bus, blending in with the crowd, and quietly traveled across the city from central Helsinki to Helsinki-Vantaa Airport. She traveled unnoticed, the weight of the situation not yet apparent to anyone around her. Once at the airport, Sanna purchased a flight ticket. Her destination was unclear, though it seemed she had plans to flee the country. She moved through the airport, going through the usual steps without showing any urgency. However, during the routine security check, airport staff found the ammunition in her bag. When asked about it, Sanna gave an unusual explanation, saying the bullets were a keepsake from her late husband. Despite this strange explanation, security allowed her to pass. She made her way to the departure lounge and waited calmly. However, her arrest was only a matter of time. 4 hours after the shooting, police stopped Sanna at the airport as she was about to board the flight to London. Before boarding, she got rid of the murder weapon by tossing the Beretta pistol into a trash can at the airport, hoping no one would find it. However, a cleaner later discovered the gun, and it was quickly traced back to her. With this evidence, there was no doubt about her involvement. Following her arrest, authorities questioned Sanna about her motives, but she remained largely unresponsive and gave no real explanation for her actions. As the investigation continued, it became clear that she was experiencing severe delusions. She believed she was a widow of an American FBI agent and was seeking revenge for his death. During the search of her home, investigators found multiple references of popular TV series The X-Files. While this suggested a possible obsession with conspiracy theories and secret government operations, there was no clear indication that the show directly influenced her crime. Forensic evidence against her was overwhelming. One of the surviving victims was able to positively identify her as the shooter. Additionally, her fingerprints were found on the firearm and gunpowder residue was detected on her skin, confirming she had fired the weapon. On June 2nd, authorities ordered Sanna to undergo a psychiatric evaluation. After thorough assessment, she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, a severe mental illness characterized by delusions, paranoia, and distorted thinking. This diagnosis played a crucial role in the legal proceedings that followed. At the Helsinki District Court, prosecutor Marit Lamukoski sought a prison sentence for Sanna, charging her with 3 counts of manslaughter and 2 counts of attempted manslaughter. She argued that Sanna had acted deliberately and should be held criminally responsible for her actions. However, on October 11, 1999, the court found Sanna guilty, but ruled she couldn't be in prison due to legal insanity. Instead, she was sent to a mental hospital in order to pay 900,000 Finnish marks in compensation to the victims' families. This amount was far less than what the families had requested, and their lawyer criticized it, saying it undervalued their laws compared to larger compensation payouts in recent libel cases. Marit appealed the Helsinki Court of Appeal, maintaining that Sanna had acted with intent and tried to flee the country after the shootings. Despite this argument, the district court's decision was upheld on October 10, 2000. The court confirmed that Sanna was not criminally responsible due to her mental illness. As a result, she was placed in psychiatric care in Niova-Nuemi Mental Hospital, where she would remain under treatment. The case drew major media attention, partly due to the rarity of a Finnish woman committing such a crime. In response to the case, the Ministry of the Interior called for a review of security and licensing regulations for commercial shooting ranges. This incident led to stricter safety rules being implemented to prevent similar tragedies in the future.
I feel like this case is very American. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be mean.
But you're being mean.
Yeah.
Just because you're right doesn't mean you have to say it out loud.
Yeah, but that's just how I felt when I was writing the script. I was like, this feels very American, because she was completely, nothing was wrong with her apparently, and she was very social and everything. Well, yes, obviously they diagnosed. Regarding the schizophrenia diagnosis, I remember I read somewhere that you can develop that later in life if you have the gene pool for it. I don't know if that was something that happened to her or if she always was schizophrenic and it just, untreated or something. I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting because
I don't know. I just feel like I have a vague memory of reading that somewhere, but I don't know.
Schizophrenia does have genetic, as they would say, as some people are genetically predisposed to have schizophrenia. So if there's like,
and it can be boosted with like alcohol and drugs and stuff.
Yeah, so like if you're genetically predisposed to schizophrenia, you're already more susceptible to it. Doesn't mean you will happen. However, what can happen, you
could be born with it too, right?
Yeah, you can
be born with it and be like,
yeah, but it won't kick in till like a certain point, or it can always be there. And also it's hard to tell in children because imaginations and stuff like that. However, it's entirely possible if you're genetically predisposed and it's dormant and then you go through something traumatic, it can trigger. So basically it will kind of make sense. Let's say, for example, she said she got raped, right? So if she experienced some form of sexual assault and she was already genetically predisposed to have schizophrenia, someone in her family might have it, then it's entirely possible that the event triggered the schizophrenia, which then changed her life from that moment on, and she needed help. So, at least that's what I remember about it.
Because it does make sense that, she was slowly isolating herself from people and everything. So something must have happened, obviously. And it would make sense if something like that would happen and triggered it. But I just can't remember right now. It's just a vague thing that I remember I read somewhere. And I also watched a show about that as well. But I don't know. Either way, what do you think about her statement of this is how they thought us at the FBI Academy?
I mean, it still leans into
that felt very American show.
So often people who have this schizophrenia and they're going through breaks in reality, oftentimes their mind will latch onto things that they might have seen recently or things that they enjoy watching. So when they saw the X-Files cases, those shows in her home, it makes sense on why her brain latched on to the X-Files, because probably in her mind she's thinking, hey, like I said in the story, she's thinking she's avenging, her husband. So she's living a plot in her head, because she's not living in a reality at this point. She's living almost like an episode of the show where she's like, oh, I need to go get vengeance. And then, because you notice how calm she was, you notice in TV shows they only do that because typically anyone who kills someone, they will panic most of the time. But she did it calmly, as if she was acting almost, even though she wasn't acting.
Yeah, that's why I felt too. That's why she was so calm. She had a plot of how to escape.
Yeah, she did it smooth too.
Almost as she was acting. Yeah.
She literally shot up all them people, then calmly left, calmly got on the bus, didn't raise any sense of awareness about what she just done, made it all the way to the airport, made it past security in the airport, and they just stopped her at the flight. And I'm pretty sure if her flight was sooner, if the flight was leaving within the hour, because remember, they didn't catch her till 4 hours after the fact, she could have been gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was the fact that she was
guess Interpol would... are they called Interpol? Interpol.
Yeah.
I was mixing up with a football team right there.
But I think Interpol only handles, I forget.
I think they can handle that.
I forget what Interpol handles.
No, I think they can handle if you have an international, or if you have a criminal that is traveling.
Interpol, I think, is mostly for organized crime or terrorism and stuff like that. They don't really handle
she could be a danger in their country.
Yeah, but that's not. She's not really her goal was not to cause mass hysteria, or it wasn't a cyber crime or something like that. They handle more organized crimes that are on a larger scale. It has to be a major thing, or a serial killer maybe.
Yeah,
it has to be on a larger scale.
So.
Yeah.
Technically, Isn't she a serial killer because she killed 3 people? I mean, no, she can't, because it has to be different.
It's like
never
the
mind.
motivations and the reasoning why is what changes.
Yeah, I know. I just caught myself, realizing that I said something stupid. Either way, I thought it was very weird that the security was like, "Hey, you have ammunition. That's weird. Let's just pass you through." If I would have, listen, I got stopped for literally having like nothing, and they're like, "Yeah, this is a weapon." I'm like, "This is just to clean my eyebrows." Like, what do you mean? So I'm like kind of weirded out that she was like, "Yeah, this is a monument for my dead husband."
But I think
and they were like, "Okay."
But in cases like yours, and even cases like mine, because like when I was leaving from Sweden, like, you know, when they scan the bags, and you know, like sometimes it might go to the right because they don't recognize an item. The person who scanned the bag was obviously white, but the person who did the checkup was someone who was black. He was Somali, and he saw it was just my pick, my hair pick. So that was more like cultural. He was like, "Come on." He literally looked me dead in my eye. I was like, "All right, come on. I know what it is. It's just a hair pick." So that was more culturally, that was more cultural ignorance.
She literally had a weapon though. Like that was like, okay, not a weapon.
Well, she didn't have the weapon. I mean, she had the bullets because she dumped the gun before she got there. So that's probably what the train of thought was. Still like, that's probably what her basically their train of thought was. It was like, oh, maybe her husband was a veteran or something like that. We don't know. I'm just giving an example of what they thought. They probably thought like, oh, there's no gun, so the bullets are useless. So, you know, sure. But I'm like, yeah, but they still have gunpowder inside of them. And if they, in a right scenario, they can be dangerous. If you heat them up, they can ignite and fire. So
I just feel like that's crazy because it always says in the documents when you're going to go out seas, or if you're going to travel with it in the airport, it says in the documents you can't have weapons. And they even specify ammunition, bombs.
Well, remember, this is
guns.
Prior to 9/11.
And she was whoa. But that doesn't matter.
It does matter, actually.
I think they still had that, though.
It does matter. They
no,
were
I
not
think
as...
they still
this is a worldwide situation. They were not as stringent on things. So this is pre 9/11.
No.
Most airports on the planet,
they just trusted people.
Exactly.
No, this can't be true, though.
It's true.
I need to know the regulations back then, because like I feel like that should have been like an obvious thing. Don't have a gun.
Airports back in the day were much more lenient.
They had the don't smoke thing too, so like I feel like
that was more of a convenience thing for other people. I don't smoke, so you shouldn't be.
You think so? I think it's like protection because fire hazard.
It was literally because this is pre 9/11.
Now that I think about it, it could be true that what you're saying, that they probably updated.
They updated everything literally after 2001. So she was able to do that because she was at the airport, 2000, a year before 9/11.
Prior to 9/11.
So that's why it was so lenient.
I can't even understand how much 9/11 really affected so much in the world.
Yeah.
Or like because airport regulations across the world, because I know for a fact if something like that would happen in America, if we say anybody who comes to US, it doesn't even matter which country, and you have ammunition in your bag, they would have been like, okay, you're going back. Like they're not even give you a chance to even like nothing. So I'm like,
well, the thing is, it's different because I don't like you get scanned on the other side. Like when I leave, I get scanned on your side. Versus
I get scanned 500 times just to get like prior to getting to like even out of the airport in the States. I get checked in the Swedish airport.
I literally don't get scanned.
Listen, I get checked 2 times in the Swedish airport. Then I get to the state. They check me again, and then they check like my pass and the regular thing.
General curiosity though, how are you getting scanned twice on your end? Because when I'm over there, when I land, I just go through. There is no metal detector. They just want to make sure that
because you're American, you don't have to care about visa. You don't have to care about nothing. You just go in and out like you're owning the place.
But then
I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Because I'm like, I'm remembering because like every time I go, I'm just like, okay, cool. On this side, I get scanned once. I don't have anything. I fly. All I have to do is go through.
I mean, I can tell you this: it's easy for me to get out than get in. So getting out, I only get scanned once, and then I just get out.
Right, as you should. That's how it is for me, yeah.
Yeah, but like when I get in,
Where are
they
you
check
going
me
to get scanned to get 3 times? Because I don't even the airport you be landing in. I'm not going to say the airport because obviously it was on the podcast, but
it doesn't matter. Like we only have one big airport, honestly.
I'm saying, but how
For
are you
international
scanning
flights,
to get? But I'm talking about when you get over here, like because you mostly have come through the same
honestly.
airport. So like, how are you getting scanned here? There's no direction for you to go for you.
Because first I have to go past. I feel like we're talking about this way too much. Though.
Either way,
Sorry,
besides the point.
we went into a deep discussion about something incredibly non-important right now. What I just realized is that I didn't think about that this happened prior to 9/11 and the regulation might have been different, because I was like, I thought this was always a thing even back then, but it wasn't. Probably they probably fixed that regulation. Anyways, what do you think about the prison sentence that she received? Do you feel like it's valid because she didn't have any criminal record and she mentally was evaluated as well?
I understand why they gave her the sentence that they did, because one, most people don't know this either, women actually get convicted. They get slightly lenient sentences than their male counterparts. Men are much more aggressively convicted when it comes to charges. That's number one. So that I'm pretty sure that did play a factor. But then two, she had no criminal record. She had never done anything like this before, and they evaluated her. She had a mental illness. So you have to take that. You have to factor those things, take those things into account, because she was not in her right mind. I know it doesn't make it any better for the person who's going through the trauma. Like, I can't even fathom the thought process of going through that. But like, I know logically, I'm not thinking like, because I know emotionally I probably would feel the same way. But I know logically it makes sense, because it's not like she wanted to do this. She was schizophrenic. She had like almost essentially no choice.
But she also murdered, I don't think I specified this in the script, but she also murdered only men.
Yeah, so I think...
And it could have been like a trauma thing.
It's a trauma thing. She was like, oh, but one of the dudes did manage to escape. But yeah, it was only men. So it was like, I think this is a trauma response because she probably was sexually assaulted and it triggered her schizophrenia. And then she was lashing out on a group of people who probably reminded her or whatever was going through her head about the sexual assault crime that happened to her. So, like I said, logically, I understand and it makes sense, because I do believe in rehabilitation, because obviously people over there in the Nordic, y'all do have a better criminal justice system than in America, because punishment does not work over here. We have constant reoffenders, and even though our population size is larger, y'all still have the rate in which crime happens is still substantially lower, which means rehabilitation does indeed work. Treating people and getting people back to normal as best as possible works. But I know logically it makes sense. Emotionally it doesn't. So I think logically it's fine. I probably would admit maybe like just a little harsher, maybe just a little more money for the family. But besides that,
I think so too, because it was like, one part of me feel the same thing as you do. Is like they need treatment. If they would have received treatment prior, this would have never happened. I mean,
this would have never happened.
Yeah, we do have regulations that if you go through traumatic events like rape, for example, or other things, there are, at least nowadays there is. Back then, I don't know. I don't think it was as good. Maybe, I don't know. But at least now, there are a lot of help to prevent stuff from, developing into a, more depressive state that she was probably going through.
Yeah.
But there were signs that her parents were more worried about her. And I understand that, but I also feel like one part of me is like, mental health shouldn't be a reason to, kill so many people. I don't know.
But in her case, it wasn't like she was depressed. She had a distorted sense of reality. So in her eyes, she was doing the right thing.
Also, yeah, I know. It's just very hard for me, because I feel like some part of me is like, your mental health is like still one's responsibility to take care of. In a sense,
I can agree with you. It depends on the mental health.
I feel so mixed about this, because I know that this is the best treatment for her, and she won't relapse if she get the proper treatment for it. But also, like, 3 people died, and 1 is heavily injured as well. So I was like,
yeah. So basically,
at least more money, because I feel like that was not enough.
At least my logic
for
I think
compensation.
To feed on your point, I think my logic is this. I'll leave it with this. It depends on the mental illness. If you're simply depressed, it's not an excuse. If you have anxiety, it's not an excuse.
Fair. Yes.
If it's something that can clearly be fixed, it's not an excuse. Schizophrenia is a break from reality.
It's so different.
It is not
That's why I
like
feel
depression.
So mixed about it.
It's not like depression. It's not like anxiety. You literally are perceiving the world completely different. You're living a different reality than everybody else. So in that regard, they need help. They need medication. They need assistance. They need someone who can be there to help them go through this, because they're literally hearing voices. They're seeing things that are different. They're not perceiving reality as a regular person. When you're depressed or having anxiety, you can still see the world the way it's supposed to be seen. That's more of a you problem. That's a you problem. And that's not an excuse. So that's where I draw the line.
I could say maybe the system failed.
Yeah.
And in that sense, that's why this happened.
I agree. But
this could have been prevented.
Yeah. That's all I really feel about it. Y'all let us know how y'all feel about it, especially from Spotify. You're able to respond in those little questionnaires that they give you on each episode. Let us know how you feel. And of course, to make sure we leave things on a good, positive note, despite what's happened, despite what we've talked about, you already know we like to end the episode with a little bit of food, some things we're craving or may want. What are you feeling?
My broke self really wants like a really expensive cut of like beef.
That sounds good.
Like you know the expensive one from Japan. What's
Wagyu?
What's the name of that cut? Yes, the highest rank. I just want something that melts in my mouth. That's what I want.
Okay, that sounds good. I actually would join you on that one.
Yeah, I just take my ideas like you always do.
Of course.
Never be original.
And of course not. Daddy. But either way,
stop.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please give us a nice little review on the platforms that you're listening to us on. And I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we shall catch you next week.
Yeah.
Next week, unless there's a holiday that for some reason we're not thinking of. I don't know.
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Now,
well,
you made me unsure.
Stay tuned. You'll find out.
Yes, we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week. All right. So,
okay,
appreciate y'all. Bye.
Bye.